I'd like to call the November meeting of the Planning Commission to Bauer for the invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day and for all the blessings of this life, especially during this season of Thanksgiving. We ask your blessing on all that are gathered here today and invoke your guidance in the decisions made. Help us stick to the matters at hand and commence a productive meeting with positive outcomes for the citizens of this great city of Suffolk. In your Son, Jesus Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Mr. Wyman, you call the roll, please.
Yes, sir.
Here we go. Commissioner Bauer.
Here.
Commissioner Creekmore.
Here.
Commissioner Eberwine.
Here.
Commissioner Edwards. Commissioner Goodman.
Here.
Commissioner Hicks.
Here.
Vice Chairman Staylor.
Here.
And Chairman Singleton.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Is there any corrections to the minutes of the October meeting? If not, they will stand as approved as printed. We have 4 items on our agenda today for public hearings, and we have 2 items that are the same land use, not land use, the same property. The rezoning request RZN 2024-0003, conditional, which is item B, and condition use permit request CUP 2024-00025, which is C. They're both for National Nasman precast. I will accept the motion to combine the 2 with one staff report.
So, second.
Got a second? Okay. We'll take this with a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So the first item on our agenda today is the rezoning request RZN 2024-007. But I'd like to just read something first. The public hearings are for 30 minutes, 10 minutes for proponents and 15 minutes for the opponents, and 5 minutes for rebuttal. This meeting is videotaped and televised for public viewing. And now we move to the first item on our agenda today is item A, rezoning request RZN 2024-00007, conditional Woodlands Towns. Mr. Wine, will you read the caption, please?
Yes. Yes, sir. Rezoning request RZN 2024-007, conditional Woodland Towns, submitted by Bob Arnett, Coastal Virginia Partners, LLC, applicant and property owner, on behalf of Tiffany Antonucci, property owner, in accordance with sections 31304 and 31305 of the Unified Development Ordinance, to rezone and amend the official zoning map of the City of Suffolk in order to change the zoning from RC, Residential Compact Zoning District, and RM, Residential Medium Density Zoning District, to RU, Residential Urban Conditional, for property located north of Valor Court and west of Hunter Street, zoning map 35H, 1B, parcels D, 4F, and 4J, and zoning map 35I, parcel 54B, to RU, a Residential Urban Conditional Zoning District. The affected area is further identified as being located in the Whaleyville voting borough, zoned RC, Residential Compact Zoning District, and RM, Residential Medium Density Zoning District. The 2035 Comprehensive Plan designates this area as being in the Central Growth Area Core Support Use District. When you act on this request, you'll be acting on a resolution to present a report and recommendation to City Council relating to rezoning request RZN 2024-007, conditional. Staff Planner Brittany Collier will present staff's report.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. As stated, this is a request to rezone these subject properties from RM, Residential Medium Density, and RC, Residential Compact Zoning District, to RU, Residential Urban Zoning District, conditional, to construct a single-family attached townhome development. The property up for discussion is located within the Core Support Use District in the Central Growth Area and is located approximately 1 mile from the downtown area. The subject properties are located north of 507 Valor Court and along Hunter Street and consist of the parcels highlighted in yellow on this slide and a portion of Hunter Street. Tax parcels 35H, parentheses 1B, asterisk D, 4F, 4J, and the portion of Hunter Street to be rezoned are presently zoned RM, Residential Medium Density Zoning District, while tax parcel 34I, asterisk 54B, is presently split zoned RC, Residential Compact, and RM, Residential Medium Zoning District. To the north of the property is the South Suffolk subdivision consisting of single-family detached residential homes zoned RM. To the south is the Southside Meadows subdivision consisting of single-family detached residential homes zoned RC, and South Suffolk subdivision consisting of single-family detached residential homes zoned RM. To the east is the South Suffolk and Pleasant Hill subdivisions consisting of single-family detached residential homes zoned RM. And to the west is the future Parkwood development consisting of vacant forested land zoned RU18, residential urban conditional. The applicant is requesting to rezone 35H, parentheses 1B, parcels D, 4F, 4J, and the portion of Hunter Street from RM, residential medium density, to RU, residential urban conditional zoning district, and a portion of tax parcel 34I, asterisk 54B, from RC, residential compact, and RM, residential medium density zoning district, to RU, residential urban conditional, in order to construct a single-family attached townhome development. The subject properties are located within the Core Support Use District, which allows for a variety of housing types, such as single-family, townhomes, stacked townhomes, small apartment buildings, and others. Overall, a range of housing types should be provided at a recommended density of 13 to 24 dwelling units per acre. The applicant has proffered that no more than 55 townhome units shall be established as a part of this request, which would result in the net density of 9.3 dwelling units per acre. The proposed density does fall below the recommended density for the Core Support Use District. However, the proposed density of 9.3 dwelling units per acre would provide a good transition from the proposed Parkwood development at 15.6 units per acre to the existing Suffolk Meadows, Pleasant Hill, and South Suffolk subdivisions. A conceptual layout was provided in support of this application. However, it is not proffered and may be subject to change during the site development process. The conceptual layout depicts 9 buildings, and access will be provided through connection to the future Parkwood development, Cedar Street, and Charlotte Avenue to the north and west. Additionally, the right-of-way established as a part of the proposed development would provide a secondary access outlet connection into the existing Suffolk Meadows neighborhood. The applicant will be required to meet all applicable design and layout standards established in the UDO for this type of residential development, and compliance with those standards will be reviewed at the time of development plan review. The comprehensive plan sets specific themes and policies related to land use, transportation, open space, and the environment that should be considered when contemplating a rezoning application. Relevant to this application are the following. Policy 2-4, promote compatibility in land use patterns. The development is proposed to consist of 55 single-family attached townhomes. The proposed zoning would provide a transition from the higher density of the RU18 zoning district to the medium density surrounding RM, residential medium density, and RC, residential compact zoning districts. The proposed conceptual layout demonstrates that the site has been designed with an interconnected walkable network of streets and small blocks that will feed into and maintain connection to Carolina Road and Cedar Street. Policy 6-1, encourage development of a balanced and diverse housing stock through the city. The proposal aligns with this policy as it would increase the city's inventory of attached dwelling units. Additionally, the development would work towards diversifying the city's housing stock by offering workforce housing in accordance with Policy 6-1C of the comprehensive plan. The Departments of Public Utilities, Traffic Engineering have reviewed this request and have no objections to the application. The Department of Public Works Engineering has expressed concerns regarding the location of the ultimate outfall for the proposed development as outlined in staff's report. However, compliance with all stormwater and drainage regulations will be reviewed for compliance at the time of development plan review. These subject properties are currently assigned to Lakeland High School, Kings Fork Middle School, and Booker T. Washington Elementary School. In accordance with Section 31-601 of the UDO, a development consisting of 55 single-family units would generate 10 elementary school students, 6 middle school students, and 8 high school students. After considering the current student enrollment, the total committed development, and the net students that are expected to be generated from the proposed development, at the time the application was submitted, there is sufficient capacity at each level to absorb the impacts from the proposed development. The applicant has voluntarily proffered 6 conditions in support of this request. The first proffer limits the development to a maximum of 55 townhome units. Proffers 2 through 5 speak to design of the buildings, and proffer 6 states that the improvements shall be made per the TIA that is proffered as a part of this application. As a part of that, it states that the developer will make a connection to Valor Court. The new connection will be a standard public street open to all traffic. In summary, staff finds that the proposal meets the intent of the provisions of the 2035 Comprehensive Plan and the UDO. The proposed rezoning from RM Residential Medium Density and RC Residential Compact to RU Residential Conditional zoning district aligns with the goals and objectives established within the Comprehensive Plan and UDO. The proposed zoning is consistent with surrounding land use patterns. Therefore, staff recommends approval with conditions of rezoning request RZN 2024-007. This concludes my presentation. I'm available after the public hearing for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Collier. I will now open the public hearing. Who would like to speak in favor of this request?
Good evening, good afternoon, I should say. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Grady Palmer. My business address, 999 Waterside Drive, sorry. We're about to move to Virginia Beach, and I had the Virginia Beach address intersecting with the Norfolk address in my head. So I'm here on behalf of the applicant this afternoon, and want to thank staff for their time and attention to this application. You'll recall that we were here earlier this year with the redevelopment of the Farmer Joe's site just to the left of the screen. And at the time that application was being considered, there was a lot of concern coming out of Southside Meadows, which is Valor Court there. That is a one-way in, one-way out community, and has been for a number of years. They suffer from severe flooding issues, and part of the concern with the application on the Parkwood site was whether that would further contribute to the conditions that they were experiencing. And so one of the things that we worked with Southside Meadows, Pleasant Hill, South Suffolk in this application was to develop the property in a way that everybody can benefit from it. Southside Meadows will get a secondary ingress and egress, vehicular ingress and egress that you can see on your screen right there. That cul-de-sac will be punched through, and they'll have access to Carolina Road, and then back in the other direction. So in the event there's flooding at the front of their neighborhood, they've got a different way and an alternative way out of their community. And so this is an application that started with Parkwood, with Farmer Joe's, and it's culminating today, and hopefully with an approval today and from City Council, the project will move forward as what you see today on the screen. And so multiple points of ingress and egress, pedestrian connectivity. There's a park there, Mary Estes Playground. One of the things that we would like to also do with this project is contribute. I think we'll have about $40,000 in parks and rec fees that we'll pay. We would like to see that go to the Estes Playground there to benefit the surrounding communities. We have done quite a bit of outreach that the applicant really should be commended for the efforts that they have undergone to reach out and to meet with stakeholders as it developed its plan. And so I'm going to submit a letter that I think you've seen, but this is from Ms. Council, who lives in Southside Meadows at 210 Greenfield Crescent, as a letter of support for this project. I want to say thank you to the many stakeholders that have offered to meet with us, in addition to the 3 communities that surround the property. And with that, I will stand by for any questions. I do ask for your approval of the application, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this request?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I am Athalia Cahan, and I reside at 302 Webb Street here in Suffolk. Having lived 50 of my 71 years in South Suffolk, Pleasant Hill, and I currently still live there. In fact, I still have the same address, just have a different dwelling. The original home was demolished and a new home was built there. So I have a vested interest in my neighborhood. The project Woodland Towns that is before you today will be an asset to where I live. I am here to show my support of the project, and I hope that this commission will vote for a rezoning approval so that they may proceed to the next step in the process. Thank you much.
Thank you, Ms. Cahan. Is there anyone else to speak in favor of this request? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none. Mr. Palmer, you have any additional comments? Okay. I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, questions, comments, or motion?
A comment or so. I'd like to thank the applicant for listening, for listening to us and for listening to the citizens of South Suffolk and Southside Crescent. This was a major issue for us, and Bob Arnett and his team did exactly what we do. They listened to the citizens and they listened to the Planning Commission, and for that reason, I'd like to move that RZN 2024-007 be accepted with conditions.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Mr. Wyman, you call for the vote, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioners, please vote. Mr. Chairman, the motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
Thank you, Mr. Wine. And Mr. Arnett, congratulations, and Mr. Palmer, thanks for your efforts. And this will go to City Council on December 18th with the recommendation for approval. The next two items on our agenda is the rezoning request RZN 2024-00009 conditional Aspen precast, and the conditional use permit request CUP 2024-0025 Aspen precast, and we're going to receive a combined staff report from Mrs. Wolf. Mr. Wine, you can make that announcement.
There we go. First, we have rezoning request RZN 2024-009 conditional Nansman precast submitted by Douglas B. McConnell and Brandon L. McConnell, applicants and property owners on behalf of Nansman Properties LLC, property owners in accordance with sections 31304, 31305, and 31708 of the Unified Development Ordinance to rezone and amend the official zoning map of the City of Suffolk in order to change the zoning from RLM, Residential Low Medium Density Zoning District, to M2, Heavy Industrial Conditional Zoning District for the properties located at 3865 and 3829 Nansman Parkway, zoning map 19C, parcels R48, R49, R50, and R51. The affected area is further identified as being located in the Cypress Voting Borough zoned RLM Residential Low Medium Density Zoning District. The 2035 Comprehensive Plan designates this area as part of the Rural Conservation Use District. When you act on this request, you will be acting on a resolution to present a report and recommendation to City Council relating to rezoning request RZN 2024-009 conditional. The second item is a conditional use permit, CUP 2024-025 Nansman Precast, submitted by Jesse Johnson Jr., Johnson Gardner and Associates, applicant on behalf of Douglas McConnell and Nansman Properties LLC, property owners in accordance with sections 31304, 306 and 31406 of the Unified Development Ordinance to grant a conditional use permit to establish outdoor operations and storage, manufacturing, processing use on properties located at 3737, 3829, and 3865 Nansman Parkway, zoning map 19C, parcels R48, R49, R50, R51, R53, R*53A, and R62*56*54. The area affected is further identified as being located in the Cypress voting borough, zoned M2, heavy industrial zoning district, and presently RLM, residential low medium density zoning district. The comprehensive plan designates this area, once again, as being part of the rural conservation use district. When you act on this request, you'll be acting on a resolution to present a report and recommendation to City Council relating to conditional use permit CUP 2024-025. As you noted, Staff Planner Shannon Wolf will walk you through both of these applications. The first public hearing being that rezoning request, and the second and separate public hearing would be the conditional use permit request application.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. As Mr. Wine has stated, this is a request to rezone and amend the official zoning map of the City of Suffolk in order to change the zoning from RLM, residential low medium density, to M2 conditional, heavy industrial zoning district on portions of a property located along Nansman Parkway. A conditional use permit, CUP 2024-00025, was submitted concurrently with this request. The rezoning must precede the CUP in order for the proposed use to be allowed. The applicant is proposing to rezone a portion of the properties and obtain a concurrent CUP in order to expand the existing business, Nansman Precast Concrete. The subject parcel is located on Nansman Parkway, bearing addresses 3737, 3865, and 3829 Nansman Parkway. The property to be rezoned is roughly 14.86 acres in size, and the CUP area is roughly 31.40 acres. To the north of the property are construction uses zoned M2 heavy industrial zoning district. To the south is construction uses zoned M2 heavy industrial zoning district and residential uses zoned RLM residential low medium. To the east are commercial businesses zoned B2 general commercial and residential uses zoned RLM residential low medium. And to the west are residential uses zoned RLM, residential low medium, RE, residential estate, and RR, residential, rural residential zoning districts. Before you is the rezoning exhibit, which outlines the boundaries of the parcel to be rezoned from RLM to M2 conditional for the purpose of expanding an outdoor operation and storage, manufacturing, processing use on properties located along Nansman Parkway. The proffer provided in summary relates to the dedication of property along the frontage of the sites as right-of-way to the city in support of the future widening and installation of associated improvements along this section of Nansman Parkway. The city has agreed to the dedication of this right-of-way in lieu of having the applicant install frontage improvements along the property's Nansman Parkway frontage in accordance with Section 31-612 of the Unified Development Ordinance. Frontage improvements required in association with an approved site plan include installation of curb, gutter, and sidewalk. These improvements would instead be incorporated as part of any future widening of Nansman Parkway and installed by the city. This will alleviate the installation of any of these improvements constructed by the applicant being impacted or removed by the city once construction of the future improvements takes place. The benefit of receiving the dedicated area as right-of-way outweighs the short-term gain of having improvements installed that would likely be removed in the future. As it relates to the CUP, this is the exhibit before you on the screen. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to expand the storage component of an existing outdoor operation and storage, manufacturing, processing use. As noted above,
This use requires the issuance of a conditional use permit from City Council with the M2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District. The Department of Public Works Engineering Division has reviewed this request and has expressed no concerns at this time with the proposed use. Stormwater will be reviewed at the time of site plan. The existing facilities currently take access from Nasman Parkway by 2 access points, and no additional access has been requested. The Department of Public Works Traffic Engineering has reviewed this request and has expressed no concerns regarding the proposed use, as the operation expansion will not directly expand its operational capabilities. While the expanded area will serve as a storage capacity for the use, it is not anticipated to generate any additional vehicular traffic above what the site presently experiences. Both the Department of Public Utilities and the Department of Fire and Rescue have reviewed this request and has expressed no concerns regarding the proposed use at this time. Staff has recommended 8 conditions as a part of the conditional use permit request. I would like to bring your attention to conditions 2, 3, and 6 specifically, in which prior to establishing the use, the following must be submitted and approved. Condition 2, a site plan shall be submitted and approved by the city for the site depicting all new improvements associated with the use. The outdoor operations and storage, manufacturing, processing shall be developed in substantial conformance with Exhibit C, the conditional use permit exhibit. Condition 3, prior to site plan approval, a minor subdivision plat vacating the internal property lines for the site must be submitted and approved by the city. The plat must depict the 25-foot area at the front of these properties along Nasman Parkway to be dedicated as right-of-way to the city as proffered in association with the rezoning request RZN 2024-009 conditional. And condition 6, prior to the dedication of the 25-foot right-of-way across the frontage of the entire site, the applicant may require the approval of a variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals related to the setback requirements established in Article 4 of the Unified Development Ordinance. Should relief of required setbacks be required and the applicant is unable to obtain relief, the setbacks established with Article 4 shall apply. In summary, it is important to note that the proposed rezoning of portions of zoning map 19C, parcels R48, R49, R50, and R51 from RLM residential low medium density to M2 conditional heavy industrial zoning district is within the rural conservation use district along the major corridor of Nasman Parkway, Route 337. And the operation precedes any renditions of a comprehensive plan for the city of Suffolk. As such, ensuring these uses are enabled to continue to thrive while aligning with the vision and goals of the comprehensive plan is an important consideration. While a use of this nature may not be appropriate in this use district as a newly proposed use, the expansion of its operating footprint does allow for an opportunity for continued investment while ensuring the current development standards are met, in addition to mitigating potential negative impacts to existing less intense land uses. Therefore, staff recommends approval of rezoning request RZN 2024-009 conditional with the proffers as submitted. Additionally, staff finds this conditional use permit request meets the criteria set forth in sections 31-306, 31-406, and 31-709 of the Unified Development Ordinance. Therefore, staff recommends approval of CUP 2024-00025 with conditions. Thank you, and I will stand by for questions following the public hearing.
Thank you, Ms. Wolf. I will now open the public hearing on rezoning request RZN 2024-00099 conditional. Who would like to speak in favor of this request?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Jesse Johnson. My address is 3508 Robbs Drive, Suffolk. It's my law practice address. and I have the pleasure of representing the McConnell family and their family entity that owns these properties. Just a little bit of background about this particular family and about their business. They started this business where it is right now 54 years ago, before the city of Suffolk was in existence. This is an old Nansemond County business. It's been there 54 years. They have worked hard. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into the building of this business. They built a very sound business there. They are recognized by VDOT as a preferred provider of structural concrete products for drainage. They contract, and their products are used in federal government projects. I think some of their things that they build and make here have probably gone all over the nation. And I just mentioned to Mr. McConnell, well, are you international? He said, well, some of our products just got to Greenland to an air base up there. So they provide a valuable service to our community in this place, and I think we're fortunate that they have been here as long as they have. Their thrust is to turn out a quality product. They don't want to crank out product after product after product and stack it up somewhere. But they do need a place with their to store their products, and that's what the rezoning application and the use permit application, they run together. And I can go back through and maybe rehash some of the things you've already heard in the presentation by Ms. Wolf, but suffice to say, I think she's accurately described what we're attempting to do here. And while I'm on that subject, I do want to commend Mr. Wine, Ms. Wolf, and their staff in the Suffolk Planning Department for assisting us in putting these applications together. They're very competent, they're very professional, they did a great job in assisting us putting this application together. I think you've already heard the whys and wherefores about why this property should be rezoned. And it's interesting to note that we do look at the comprehensive plan, what it's showing as the current zoning. And of course, when I looked at that map, I was seeing zoning all over the place. A big piece of property across the road, zone B2. I was surprised to see that, but nonetheless, it's there. And I was a little bit surprised to see this being designated as a rural development area, since it's sandwiched between two parcels that are M2 zoned. Some of you haven't been around as long as I have, but I can go back and remember when there was no Bennett's Pasture Road. I can remember when there was a railroad track that served a station and driver. And a lot of the industrial activity in the driver area was precipitated by the railroad. You had a railroad that ran all the way to the Nansemond River. That was a spur off the main road. And in Driver, they had a station, and they pick up produce, crops, and everything. Blair Brothers, for instance, has been there probably longer than Nansemond Precast has, but they used to bring in their materials by railroad car. So it's very interesting, and the history is there that this has been a natural place where people have congregated to have businesses. So I think the consideration here is that with this continuing use, the expansion of that use allows for an opportunity to continue this investment. Keep the people here in Suffolk. They do a great job. We've talked about the business being there for more than 50 years. We have a situation where this is a quiet operation. One thing that they've done, just to mention to you, in the new manufacturing area, they've gone to full electric. They don't have a lot of forklifts and things like that. They've electrified their process so there's not a lot of hydraulic noise or anything else, and it's primarily inside. So they're much in tune to the environmental aspect of things. Adequate public facilities, I think the report speaks for itself. There are no concerns about any of the adequate public facilities that we'd be dealing with here. The profit condition, we thought it made sense to go ahead and offer up the dedicated right-of-way. Why go to the trouble and expense of putting improvements there, just to know that not too far in the future, somebody's going to come along, the city's going to come along, tear it all up and do it again. So it just made sense to do it that way. And we certainly concur with the recommendation that planning staff has given you to rezone the property. The use permit is an interesting situation. That's somewhat all-encompassing. The property originally was there by right before there was the city of Suffolk, and really before there was a zoning code. So they were grandfathered, and what we didn't want to get into was a situation where we would run into a non-conforming use that somehow might inhibit the business. So I think staff was wise in advising us to seek that route, which we've done. And I stand ready to answer any questions that you have. Brandon McConnell from the company is here with us. We also have our engineer here today. We'd be happy to answer questions if you have any, but we would certainly ask you to act positively on the recommendations from us and from the planning staff. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Attorney Johnson. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to have any favorable comments to this request? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to this request?
Good afternoon. I'm Marilyn Majette Hill, great-granddaughter of Penny Roberts, who were one of the three women who bought the property back in 1898, and would like to state that our family have paid taxes on part of the property there that Mr. McConnell is speaking about. And I remember as a young girl when Mr. McConnell came to the house where Mrs. Council owned and started his business. And through the years, I've watched them doing their business, and I respect the fact that they're there doing that business and want to expand, but our family are in the process, and I know that Mr. McConnell see that on a piece of property that my grandparents had. We are building a house. And the other part, we had other aspirations for that property as well. I do not know Mr. McConnell, his father, him, nor his son. And at this time, I would like to ask that consideration would be given for us to probably sit down and talk before making the decision to do the rezoning and what have you for that property. I thank you for your time.
Is anyone else to speak in opposition? Hearing none. We'll now close the public hearing on the rebuttal. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Just a short word about the lady's presentation. I think the property that she's speaking out about is on the side nearest Bennett's Pasture Road from this piece of property. It's not part of this rezoning application or use permit application. I think Mr. McConnell may own a fractional interest in that property. In fact, we're working on that now to determine who all the owners are, because we found out that there's a delinquency in taxes on that particular piece of property, and it's been advertised for sale. So we're trying to help out a little bit to find out, in fact, who the owners are. And we've not seen or heard from this lady that I can recall. But just to, and of course, as you know, the property has been like it is for 54 years. So I don't know what else to say, and I don't know why that would be an objection to moving forward with this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney Johnson. We'll now close the public hearing. Commissioners, questions, comments, or motion?
Question, comment. I'm real confused right now. The piece of property, four pieces of property that I saw are 3865 and 3829 Aspen Parkway. I'm sorry, 3865, 3737, and 3829 Aspen Parkway, and then something that's zero that's owned by McConnell. The piece of property that the young lady is referring to, is that one of the four pieces that we're looking at, or is this the house that's just west of NPCC? I'm real confused as to what we're talking about. That last, the rebuttal, I mean, the opposition comment has thrown me, and I don't know what property she's referring to.
So I think it's a little confusing. The property to be rezoned, it does cross Bennett's pasture, or it abuts Bennett's pasture, but it's not the whole property. So they're leaving portions of it zoned residential that are along Bennett's pasture. Only the part of the property that abuts Nasman Parkway is being rezoned.
And the property that this young lady is referring to, is it one of these pieces, these four pieces of property? It's another piece of property altogether.
No, I'm not sure which parcel is her. I'm not sure which one's hers.
I think it would be helpful to maybe have her come up and point to which property she's speaking of.
Yeah.
If that's,
Yeah, somebody, because I'm afraid to do anything.
Down in here somewhere. Down
Are we
to
talking
the
about the
south.
house that just finished, or almost finished construction? Or it's a piece on Bennett's Pasture Road?
Over here. This piece right here. Right in there.
It's right here. Yep.
Right there.
if it'll let me draw.
So where she drew the circle, that's the piece.
The house next door to NPCC?
Yeah, so that's not abutting the parcel
Okay.
that's being rezoned.
Okay.
Clear to all you commissioners?
I had an opportunity, Mr. Creekmore and I went out there to this site yesterday. I guess we were there, 2 hours?
Yes.
And got a very thorough tour of the whole property and all the surroundings. And everything that I'm seeing been done out there is beyond first class. And McConnell's, I think, have really got a lot of interest in the area and the community. It's more than obvious. They've been out there for 54 years. So with that being said, I'd move for approval of RZN 2024-009.
Second that.
Got a motion and a second? Any discussion on the motion?
I just got one piece. I just want to say that one of those pieces of property was one of the houses that I was in and out of a lot. And I want to thank McConnell's for being such a good neighbor. They are good neighbors on Nasman Parkway. In case anybody knows, it's right down the street from my house, and there has never been a complaint that I know of from the neighbors in terms of how NPCC runs this business. And I've never heard anything. I didn't know there was such a thing as some noise, because there's no noise at all in the neighborhood as it relates to that property.
Ready to vote? Okay. Call for the vote, Mr. White.
Commissioners, please vote.
All
5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5
Mr. Chairman, the motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
We're halfway there.
Oh, we got the other one.
Now we're going to open the public hearing on conditional use permit request CUP 2024-00025 Nasman Precast. Who would like to speak in favor of this request? Mr. Johnson, you have any additional comments for this particular portion?
Basically be a rehash. What we're trying to do is make sure that we have properly taken care of any situation that might arise since the original property basically may have been a legal non-conforming use at some point in time. I think that's why we're going through the conditional use permit application, and we do need the use permit to allow us to do the outside storage. That's the primary reason for that, but we're kind of throwing all the properties under one lump. We're going to vacate property lines, as Mr. Wine alluded to, so that we've got one tidy, nice piece of property there. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I move to the opposition, is anyone else to make any comments in favor of this request? Is there anyone speaking in opposition to this request? Hearing none, we'll now close the public hearing. Commissioners, comments, questions, or motion? Mr. Chairman.
Quick question for Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Johnson?
Johnson, I appreciate the presentation. I don't want it to be seen that we glossed over Ms. Hill's concern, but I do understand there is a period of time between planning and city council. Is there any way we can make sure there is a conversation with the applicant and Ms. Hill in between?
We would be most happy to meet with her right now. We'd be glad to speak with her. I understand her concerns because the city has advertised that property for sale for non-payment of taxes. One of my clients, one of the individuals, owns a fractional interest in that piece of property, and we have some interest in it as well. So we'll be glad to speak with her.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Oh, did we vote on this yet? No. Okay. Any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Again, I don't want to beating a dead horse, but we did have the opportunity. The McConnells took us around for two hours yesterday and showed us their operation. And to me, the key is that that business has been in business for a long time in that location. It's a Suffolk-based business, and they've never had any problems with that. They are in the process of expanding. The new building, if you go out there, there is a new building, not in this area, but also on the M2 area, which is going to be changing their business a little bit or expand their business. What we're talking about in the area where it's that shaded green area, it's going to be used for storage, and what they do out there is the equipment that they use to make these culverts. These are large cement culverts. If you haven't been out there, that are being used by VDOT and other contractors in the local area and also outside of our area. It's a big business, and I think that we need to do what we can to support it. And for that reason, I'd like to make the motion to approve with conditions CUP, if I can find it, 2024-025.
Second.
I got a motion and a second.
Second.
Mr. Goodman, you got any comments? Okay. Okay. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none. Mr. Wyman, you call for the vote, please.
Commissioners, please vote. Mr. Chairman, that motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
Mr. O'Connell, Matt Connell, I'm sorry, and Mr. Johnson, this will go to council on 12/18/2024 with the recommendation for approval from this body. Congratulations. Next item on our agenda is conditional use permit request CUP 2024-00015, Pearls and Bow Ties. I think that's how you pronounce that. Mr. Wyman, will you read the caption, please?
Yes, sir. Conditional use permit request CUP 2024-015 Pearls and Bow Ties submitted by Roberta Branch and Talbot Branch, applicants and property owners in accordance with Section 31306 and 31406 of the Unified Development Ordinance to grant a conditional use permit to establish a public assembly use not otherwise enumerated on property located at 506 East Washington Street, the zoning map 34G25, 1, 2, parcels 1 and 2. The affected area is further identified as being located in the Whaleyville voting borough, zoned B2 General Commercial Zoning District. The 2035 comprehensive plan designates this area as part of the Central Growth Area Core Support Use District. When you act on this request, you'll be acting on a resolution to present a report and recommendation to City Council relating to conditional use permit CUP 2024-015. Staff Planner Matthew Madariaga will present staff's report.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Planning Commissioners. This conditional use permit request before you today is to establish a public assembly not otherwise enumerated use on property located at 506 East Washington Street. The subject property is located within the Central Growth Area, Core Support Use District, and the Whaleyville Voting Borough. The property is located in the B2 General Commercial Zoning District. The property is bordered by vacant land zoned M2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District to the north, various businesses zoned B2 to the south, various lots zoned B2, as well as residential homes zoned RM, Residential Medium Zoning District to the east, and more businesses and railroad zoned M2 to the west. The applicant's request is to establish a public assembly not otherwise enumerated use with the aim of providing a community center for skills workshops, tutoring, and vendor shows, in addition to being a multi-purpose space for events such as baby showers, birthday celebrations, ministry events, and retirement parties. The building is 2,371 square feet with around 800 square feet dedicated as the banquet hall with various other office and storage rooms. The applicant states that there will be no employees, but the business owner or representative shall be present for all events, and that furthermore, there will be no alcohol permitted on the property. Food is proposed to be catered with no preparation on site. The applicant has proposed outdoor cooking of grilled foods, but due to limited parking and outdoor space, staff has included conditions that limit all uses to indoor only. The proposed parking for this use is on an adjacent lot to the building. Staff has therefore included a condition that will require the applicant to vacate the property lines with a boundary line adjustment plat prior to the use commencing. In addition, the UDO calls for a minimum of 1 parking space per every 50 square feet, meaning a total minimum of 48 spaces for the proposed use. The proposed parking only has room for around 26 parking spaces. Therefore, staff has included a condition that limits the proposed assembly use to 1,300 square feet, which more than covers the banquet hall, bathrooms, and some of the storage and office spaces. The rest of the space in the building will be allowed for storage. Staff believes that the proposed use of a public assembly not otherwise enumerated is not expected to adversely impact the surrounding neighborhood. The Departments of Public Works, Utilities, and Traffic have reviewed this request and have no concerns at this time. The Bureau of Fire has also reviewed this request and has required a city water model to ensure adequate flow, as well as a fire flow calculation summary to detail fire flow requirements. This will be addressed in the certificate of occupancy process through the building department. The conditional use permit process evaluates the proposed use of the land, not necessarily that of the building. The building official's review process for the certificate of occupancy is charged with ensuring that all required codes are met before the use can commence. Therefore, staff recommends approval of CUP 2024-015 with the conditions stated in the staff report. This concludes my presentation. I will stand by for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew. I will now open the public hearing on conditional use permit request CUP 2024-00015. Who would like to speak in favor of this request?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Roberta Branch. I reside at 1098 Union Branch Road in Coral Peak, North Carolina. I'm here with my husband, Talbot Branch. I have been employed with Suffolk Public Schools for over 26 years, and my husband is employed with the Newport News Shipbuilding for 35 years. Before I begin, I would like to extend a gratitude to the Planning Commission for the work they did thus far for me and my husband on this application. So we started the process May 3rd at a pre-submittal meeting, and I'm speaking on behalf of my husband, who's sitting out there, and myself, in reference to our conditional use permit to establish a multipurpose center at 506 East Washington Street. Before acquiring the ownership of this property, it was in business for over 30 years by my father-in-law, Roy Branch, who passed away as Carolina Cleaners. So what we're proposing to do is to create a place that will host events that help bring the community together. That's our primary vision. We aim to sponsor community education projects that will provide instructional services and educate the public on key issues and direct projects that will help grow that community. Another thing that we will be doing is providing tutoring and things for the parents and the grandparents to help them understand the liabilities to Suffolk Public Schools to make sure our children progress and their children progress. Also, we strive to partner with Suffolk Parks and Rec, Suffolk Cultural Arts Center, and other entities of Suffolk to expose the residents to those things in a way that will grow them. Also, the secondary purpose is for baby showers, ministry events, and things of that nature, and a meeting hub for different organizations. But after reviewing the staff report that I received on November 15th, I had a concern about condition number 2 that's asking us to vacate our property line between the two pieces of property. And that was a concern of mine, because what we did offer and was advised to ask for was a cross-access and cross-parking contract agreement between the two pieces of property, which we did submit in August. But as of yesterday, I was told that that agreement that I submitted was good enough to get me to this position, which is a meeting before the Planning Commission. But what I'm asking is for the process to move forward, but a reconsideration for condition number 2. Because if we can do a cross agreement between the two pieces of property, we own both pieces of property, that would allow us not to have to vacate our property line. And I do understand UDO about a separate CUP for that piece of property, which is a standalone parking lot. I do understand that. But at this time, I'm asking that it move forward, but with reconsideration or consideration for condition number 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Branch. Is anyone else to speak in favor of this request? Seeing none. Is anyone to speak in opposition? Seeing none. We'll now close the public hearing. Mr. Wine, will you, huh? Will you clarify or give us some insight on before we discuss the motion?
Absolutely. So the purpose of that condition is because the parking lot that is located on a separate parcel currently that would be necessary for the adjacent parcel in which the building is located to be utilized as an event center, the building use would be reliant on that parking area. It's quite common for us to recommend conditions of this nature, just like we did with the Nansemond precast, to consolidate the use. You want everything that is related to the same use on one property. There is an option to allow for the existing parking lot to remain on that property, provided that a separate conditional use permit application is filed. Because at that point, it would be operating, the principal use of that parcel would be a parking lot in support of the adjacent public assembly use, which does require a conditional use permit in the B2 zoning district, of which y'all have considered those, some of those in the past. So that's the issue. We want to ensure that should that parking ever be eliminated on that parcel, that a primary responsibility of staff in considering these rezoning conditional use permit requests is to ensure that they can operate in compliance with the regulations of the Unified Development Ordinance. With conditional use permits, if it's not screening, parking tends to be one of the primary concerns. Assembly type uses of this nature have the potential to generate quite a number of people, of which they rely on parking. Should that parking ever be eliminated and the use continue, that could be problematic. And we, up to this point, it would not have been demonstrated that they comply with the parking requirements necessary. So the options at this point, why we recommended condition 2, consolidate it, have it on one site. That way the parking that is going to be utilized in support of the assembly use is on the same site as the use itself, or separately, at this point, it would be appropriate to file a separate conditional use permit for the parking as the primary use on the adjacent parcel.
Questions, comments?
So to be possible, as a condition to get a CUP and passing this, from my understanding, it was told, she just said, that what got her to this point was a letter stating that that they would use this parking, that they would be able to use this parking lot as a separate entity without that. So that never should have been told her that. So now she's thinking that, you know, you already gave me this condition, this get me here, why does it stop me now that I'm here? So with conditions of if they ever change the use of that building or sell one part, then it loses it anyway. It'll be gone. So they no longer can operate there because they don't have the parking. So to vacate the line, we understand, and it makes sense. But it also makes sense to not have to spend another whole lot of money doing something that can be rectified with a letter, I would think.
Are you saying, like, change the term so that the reliance of the conditional use permit to stay intact means no alteration of the adjacent parcel, which is currently, because I'm thinking like a realtor. I'm like, what if they sell that? But yeah, that being a condition, and maybe that's not an option. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, if they ever decided not to continue to do that business and wanted to sell the piece of parcels separately, then they have that right without having to go back in and put a line there.
Yeah, and then the use permit gets pulled.
Yeah, get pulled.
Is that?
It's no longer in in use, because you're not using it for that purpose.
So I want to make sure I understand. The question is, would it be possible to condition the
Yes.
fact that this parking lot remain in support of the adjacent?
Yes.
That's an option to include that as a condition. The issue with that is the parking lot needed in support of this use by itself requires its own conditional use permit application, of which we do not have. So the option moving forward at this point would be vacating the property line to ensure that the use has the parking.
So, all right, the conditional use permit that's needed for them to use it as it is right now, why wasn't told to them from the beginning that they needed it? I don't know whether it was, whether it wasn't, but from my understanding, they went through the steps. They didn't just throw it out there. They went through whatever the meetings that was set before them with everybody sitting in front of them. I'm finding out more and more from hearing from people that they're having a hard time trying to get stuff done in the city. So, I mean, why we're making it so hard for people to get stuff done in the city? It ain't your fault, you know. I know it's rules and regulations, but you know.
My goal as the director of the department is to ensure that we are as easy to deal with as possible.
Okay.
And we are charged with enforcing the regulations as established by City Council. And all of those regulations serve some purpose. In this case, we are charged with ensuring that a use of this nature will have adequate parking to serve it. That is outlined within our use criteria when we consider these conditional use permits. So we've worked very closely with the applicant in this case, whether that is assisting with providing exhibits in support of the application to depict the parking spaces, or in giving them options from the get-go. That option, as provided in July initially, was to vacate the property line internally or submit a parking agreement between the two entities, the two parcels, as well as submit a separate CUP for the parking.
Why would you need to do all of that? Either do one or the other. That other part should have never been there. Submitting a letter should have never came up. You got to do the one thing. When you put that one in there, it doesn't make sense. To give somebody that option between the two, it doesn't make sense. Because now that leads her to thinking that there's a possibility to do it without a CUP. So when that option should have never came up at all, it never should have been a part of anything if you all going to be a stickler to them moving that line. Because if I was in their shoes, I would be upset too.
So I want to be clear. The two options were this: vacate the property line in
Right.
between the properties, or submit a conditional use permit for the parking lot.
Okay.
In conjunction with the parking agreement. That was option 2. We received the parking agreement, but there was never a conditional use permit submitted.
I'm confused now. I'm confused.
Hey, Kevin, could they possibly table this thing for, say, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and let them apply for that CUP,
Sounds like she doesn't.
and then just do a full package plan, so in other words, kind of like the McConnell deal. Would that be, is that an option?
Should that be the option the applicant wishes to choose, it would be appropriate for that, yes.
What would be the
Well, can we invite her back to the podium so that we can ask, so that we can, because this can go away right now.
Yeah.
But we're talking about a property line adjustment,
Yeah,
and that's separate from a CUP, correct?
So maybe I'll jump in and just sort of make this a little bit simple.
Come on, lawyer.
So the use for public assembly must have a certain amount of parking.
Yeah.
And as you look at the map, the building sits on almost the entire square footage of the property, so it does not have parking by itself. So parking must come from somewhere else. So the two options that we have on this, since there's an adjacent parcel, is that you combine the two parcels. So now one parcel does have all the parking that it needs, or you get an agreement from a parking lot that has been approved to be a parking lot. The issue here is that that particular parcel has not been approved to be a parking lot. So you can't get the agreement until it is approved as a parking lot.
Gotcha.
All of that could happen simultaneously, but
Yes.
that currently is not before this body.
Gotcha. Now, that makes sense. That sounds a whole lot better.
It looks like a parking lot, though.
It is a parking
Yeah,
lot.
but
It's
it's-
been a parking lot for years. Her father used it for a parking lot.
But it's not big enough to accommodate.
No, I'm talking about
use.
the other part.
The parking lot itself has not been deemed a parking lot.
Right, the other space.
Right?
The
Is
other-
that correct?
the other-
It's not approved as a parking lot. It may have been
Exactly.
used as a parking lot, but it has not been approved
Right.
as a parking lot.
Right. Yeah, not the part that the building is sitting on.
Yeah, the
We're
parking lot.
talking about the separate lot. That's what we're talking about. That they said either submit a letter.
You can't
with the
submit the
CUP.
letter until it is approved as a parking lot.
All right.
So
Now
you can
that's
submit the
better.
letter, but the letter is not operative until that is approved to be a parking lot.
Now, that's a whole lot better. See, that's better explained. So let's make this a parking lot. So in the beginning of this whole project, they should have been told that you need to make this a parking lot in order to submit a letter as a parking lot. Can she come back up?
Yeah, and that was shared on August 7th with the applicant, but yeah,
August.
absolutely.
August 7th.
But if it was shared from the beginning, then they could have used one CUP, right? Can I add,
Two separate parcels with two separate uses would require separate CUPs,
Got to be some more. Let's hear what it is.
unless you vacate the line. And then there would be no need for two separate
Which-
CUPs.
Okay, on the
You have the
time
floor.
frame that they're speaking of, I was told about the second CUP after I did the first CUP. My concern was if this was a condition, when I was sitting in the pre-submittal meeting on May the 3rd, why wasn't that brought up as an option? According to my emails that I have between myself and some planners, it was told to me after the fact that the CUP, I needed a separate CUP for the parking lot. After we paid $500 for the first CUP, I have it in the email stating that I needed a second CUP. And my response was, how is that fair to me and my husband after we paid $500 for the first CUP, when if we had known that, as I was told by the planner, it would have been done at the same time under that one CUP. All I had to do was submit a waiver for this, which I have it, and it would have moved forward as one CUP versus two CUPs, which would cost us $1,000. So that is why I'm standing here. And as of this morning, I spoke to someone, and I was given the option to get an agreement for parking with the church across the street. And, I mean, I've done everything that they asked. I've waited patiently for over 30 to 45 days for someone to contact me. I have emails where I emailed a planner. The email was read the email was read August the 7th, August the 9th. After that, I put a read receipt asking further questions. No response since August 9th. I went above and talked to some other people to get some help. So that's why we are here in November for a May 3rd and June 27th submittal to the city. I submitted the application on June 27th. I have my paperwork to support the emails and the countless phone calls that I made. I'm not here to cause any problems for anyone in planning, but fair is fair and right is right. I was given a lot of runaround. They had disrespected comments made to me since we want to throw this out here, where from the beginning it was said that, oh, that place needs a lot of work, so maybe you doing this will help it. That was from the beginning. I didn't want to go here. I just wanted this resolved. When I asked about a cross agreement for the 2 pieces of parcel, no one sat me down and told me that that's when the CUP money came up for the second CUP. We just want to move forward with our vision. We keep the property up, we keep the property clean, we don't cause any disturbance over in that neighborhood. All we're asking is to continue our vision. And I did not want to go here. I really did not. But I stand on what I believe, and I stand on what was told to me. And I have said this countless times from the time I started in August asking questions up until this morning, stating my reasoning. And I did not want to have to do this, but this is where we are. And I feel like it's unfair to my husband and I to be given another CUP bill of $500 for a parking lot that people have parked on for over 30 years for Carolina Cleaners. And that's my stance. And as I spoke this morning, I was told that if I brought this up, this will defer my application to move forward. And my response to that was, I will just have to take it because I stand on what is right. And I have my documentation to say what is right. And this is what I stand on. I'll do right. I'll do right by the city of Suffolk. We pay taxes in Suffolk, although we do live in North Carolina. But along the way, this has not been an easy process. Not at all. And not at all for myself or my husband. So I ask you to move it forward with reconsideration for number 2. I did submit the cross access and cross parking contract agreement. I did get it notarized. I did do exactly what they asked me to do. But to be told that this is only good enough to get me here was unacceptable, because by law, it says that you can use this because this is our property. You don't have to walk across the street. The parking lot is right there. The piece of property is right there. But to ask us to take our property, 2 pieces of property, combine it into one, if we wanted to sell one or the other, that should be our choice. And no one should have to force our hands. And I understand UDO. I looked it up. I researched it as I told the planners. I researched it. I even looked up the Virginia code because I understand what they're doing, but how is that fair now to tell me to come back and go through a 90-day hold again, and we started June 27th, and it's November? I can't see that. But, you guys have to make the choice and do the vote. But as I stated before, I ask that this move forward with that condition being reconsidered, that we could use the cross-access agreement that we did submit. Thank you.
So with the question was asked, could she get agreement with the church across the street? So if she did get one with them, that parking lot is legal as a parking lot. That's what she was saying.
You use the parking lot at the church.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about. So that is a legal parking lot. That's what you were saying, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So now what becomes of the parking lot? So she could still probably use the lot next door, the parking spaces that's next to her. Is that what you're saying?
In order to account those as parking spaces that could be utilized for that use.
Gotcha.
They would have to, that parking lot would have to be an established parking lot legally with the CUP.
Okay, okay.
So I have a strange question, because I'm a strange person.
Right, all right.
Have we ever waived a CUP fee? Since it sounds like this is just as much planning's fault as it was anybody else's. Sounds like we weren't forthcoming enough to the folks who were trying to get this application through. So I'm just trying to figure out a way to short circuit. Do we ever waive CUP fees?
It's a possibility. However, I want to be clear. We were very forthcoming from the onset on this application. The comments were provided immediately upon receipt and review on our end. They were reiterated in August. I think we're here at this point because we understood the need to move the application forward as the applicant had hoped by providing an avenue to do that. But to get back to your original question, yes, it is within the realm of possibility to potentially waive an application fee.
Just sounds like that was the issue, that they didn't want to pay. They would have had to pay $500 to use both pieces of property, to do both pieces of property. But now they'll end up having to spend $1,000, and they're trying to save themselves $500. Who wouldn't?
Wine. With the CUP, that will negate item, condition number 2, but they cannot go forward until the parking lot has come back to us and to council for a CUP.
That is correct. The parking in which they wish to utilize on their adjacent parcel will need to be established as such with its own use permit, which could be done simultaneously with this request, but the request for the public assembly could not proceed without that unless other means of parking arrangements are found.
Gotcha.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Forget about the lot next door. The lot that the building is on, that parking lot, that can accommodate how many parking spots?
Where the building is currently,
That 26 is that I saw someplace in the report.
Looks like 11 spots.
I think that 26 is included.
Item 5 says that for the 1,300 square feet, you need 26 spots.
Need that lot across next door.
That space there cannot accommodate the 26 spots.
the parking available on the site with the building would not be sufficient to meet the needs of the uses proposed. So they would need to identify additional parking, of which would be supplied by that adjacent property.
Kevin, would speaking of the letter from the church across the street, if you have 11 spaces here, I would presume they would have to make up the additional 26 with an agreement from the church if this other conditional use permit is not pursued or they vacate the line. Could this go forward if there was a letter of agreement with the church to make up the total number?
The deficit, whatever the deficit
Deficit is, yeah.
Till CUP is required.
Right.
So that is an option to provide us with a parking agreement with an adjacent user outlining the number of spaces that they could utilize and the hours of the day when they could utilize them for that use. But it would be appropriate to have that in hand so that we could analyze that and ensure that they could conform with the minimum standards of the Unified Development Ordinance.
What is the possible length of if we were to postpone this, 30 days based on the advertising? Is that what it is, 30 days?
That could be something that could be accommodated in 30 days.
You have up to 100 days.
Up to 100 days.
We can table up to 100, but you mentioned the advertising.
An advertisement is only required should you elect to have another public hearing on this item.
So in effect, we could,
But that's a decision of the commission.
could the applicant, please, I have a question for you. Very obviously, we would like to be able to accommodate this if we can in some way. Have you approached the church across the street about possible parking?
That was presented to me this morning.
Okay.
These options were presented to me via phone call this morning. So to give me another 30 days, I mean, you will have to do what you do as the planning commission, but we have been waiting since June 27th. And I was told that it was going to be deferred, and I took the chance to speak out. And I did. However, I still stand on the premise that it was not given to me and presented to me that way. And even with the summary that they sent back after I submitted the application, it was not even in the summary that I needed a CUP for the parking lot. So I submitted the application, and I got back the feedback. And in the feedback, it was never put in the feedback that I needed a CUP for the parking lot. It only came after I began to ask questions. So, I mean, you can do what you have to do, but I feel that we've waited a very long time.
I just feel like our hands are a little bit tied as the planning commission, because like right here, right now, we can't like amend the UDO or do something that drastic just to push it through to change the terms. I could be wrong. I understand we're all trying to problem solve, but I want to know what
So
our options are.
presently, you only have before you the option of vacating the property line. None of the other things that you would need to have other options are before this committee. So there are 3 possible outcomes. The first is you postpone decision for a certain amount of time. The second is you approve it with the conditions that staff has presented to you. Or the third is you deny it and with the conditions that were brought forth to you. And then between now and City Council can make changes as they see fit. But at this point, you don't have any of the other materials that you need in order to amend the condition to provide an alternative for the parking.
It's also my understanding the applicant doesn't want it approved as written with the condition to vacate the property line, correct?
I do not want to vacate the property line, but we were not given adequate time to even get the second set of information to you guys in this time. If it was given to us in a timely manner that we had to do this, I would have been definitely prepared to present it to you as is. However, it was not given to us, but you're asking that your 3 options is beneficial not to us per se, because it's still going to have us waiting another 30 to 100 or 30 to 60 days when we've already waited from June 27th to November 19th. So, I mean, as stated, I mean, those are my options.
Well, if we approve it and you make the change prior to the council meeting, and I think I'm taking this right, that would still give you 30 days, but it's not delaying you any more than where we stand right now. Is that correct?
Correct?
Yes, so at the public hearing for city council, the applicant could present an alternative
Okay,
plan to
so
city
that
council,
isn't- I mean,
and they can change the
and
conditions at that
She can
point.
do it in that 30-day grace period that she's not going to be able to use it any, it's got to be approved through council.
Anyway.
Well, I mean, at
Right.
this point
Yeah.
anyway, so that
Re-
30 days is not being wasted. Oh, I'm not going to say wasted. But
Correct.
Delayed.
Delayed, yes, correct, on our behalf.
So in other words, in 30 days, she could either talk to the pastor, get the spots that she needed, apply for the CUP,
Okay,
which the city is going to pay for.
correct.
So that particular option, that would be the reason, so to get a second CUP, that would be the reason to table it here, because that CUP process won't catch up to the city council process.
Gotcha. So it would be best for her to, lawyer. So what could be done between here and council, if we approve it now?
Well, I'm not permitted to give the applicant legal advice.
I know.
So
All right.
I will tell you what your options are. Your
Right.
options are, you only have one way to provide parking, and that is, at this point in front of you, is to vacate the property line and make it one large property. If you would like to see a CUP for the lot next door and keep them two separate parcels, then you would want to postpone the vote on this and give sufficient time for that process to work its way back up to this body. If you would rather see if the applicant, or if you want to see if the applicant can come back to you with an agreement, you could postpone it. If you want to move it forward and leave it up to the applicant to figure out what she would like to do in between here and city council, then you can vote to either move it forward with a recommendation of approval or a recommendation of denial.
You're smart, man. Very smart. Very smart.
Mr. Goodman, you going to make the motion to move this forward, or what?
Yeah, I'll make the motion for approval. Let me pull it back up so I can see it.
With the conditions that's was presented to us at this time. Got 30 days, and council will do what they have to do then.
This is pretty messy. Do you have 30 days? I mean, what, no, 60 days? That would mean 60 days.
60 days. When would it go to council?
Choice.
Huh?
We got no choice. We got to move it either the council with a for or denial or
Yeah,
a
but if-
table. That's our choice.
I know.
Ms. Branch don't have no
she
say
doesn't
in
say
that
on
part.
I'm not giving her a say. I'm just asking her a question. I think we ought to table.
Right.
Talk to all of us.
Talk to Ms. Branch. I want to go there and sit down next to her.
Commissioner Goodman.
I just don't feel good voting for approval with the conditions. And if we take out the condition, then we still got messy. And I would prefer it to be clean. That's why I would prefer that we table this for 30 days.
So we table it, how long?
Table
would it be?
30 days is going to be 60 days
That's
before
fine.
it gets to council.
That gives her a chance to get that free CUP done. That free CUP done.
The
And-
council going to be able to do that. We can't do that.
Oh, okay. So then, we can't do that. Why council got to do that? Councilors are the ones who can waive the fee?
So the 30-day deferral would allow the applicant, should they choose to submit a conditional use permit application for the parking lot on the adjacent lot. Utilizing the information as a part of this application, that may be enough to allow us to present multiple conditional use permits at your next meeting, if that makes sense.
Say it again now.
Start from
That's
beginning.
what I was thinking.
Say it again now.
Should the applicant provide to us a conditional use permit application for the adjacent parking lot soon, we would have ample time potentially to advertise that use permit for consideration at your next meeting, if that makes sense.
So it's just held up 30 days?
Yeah.
Kevin, the other thing, if that was not the applicant's desire to do, but she was able to, in that 30 days, provide a letter of agreement with the church for the additional space, then I presume that could be, then the actual information could be changed if that meets the requirements of the UDO.
That is correct. If enough parking is provided for the use, and we have an agreement in place to accompany that application, that would be an option as well.
So the applicant would have a couple of options to be able to meet the requirement.
So if we table it today, she goes to the office and fill out a CUP. In the next 30 days, we might be able to push it forward. That's what's being said.
That is an option on the table.
And so in order for that to happen, what will we can table it.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, I think I would be more comfortable with tabling it. So I make a motion that we'll table it. Help me with the motion, y'all looking at me.
30 days.
Well, it wouldn't be 30 days, it would be the date of the next meeting. Because it may not be 1 or 2 days short of 30 days.
Yeah, whatever the days of
December 17th.
December the 17th, that we would table it to December the 17th.
December 17th.
It would also to hold a second public hearing, because since we are changing,
Right.
one of the conditions will probably change one way or another.
Gotcha.
So we will need to have another public hearing. It's unlikely that anybody in the community will object, but we have to at least provide that opportunity.
That's part of the motion, what he said.
The motion is we table for 30 days.
Right.
Until the date, and have a second public hearing, or have a public hearing on that date.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second that.
What he said.
We got a second.
Not 30 days, but December 17th.
December 17th.
I'll second that.
Got a second. Any other discussion of the motion?
Mr. Chairman, I haven't said anything. I just want to say something. I'm going to be real brief. I want to thank Mr. and Ms. Branch for doing this, because I was under the understanding, because we've seen the cleaners my whole life, that it was a parking lot. I assumed that it was a parking lot. And one of the things that we must remember is that CUP goes with the land. I was under the impression that the parking lot next door went with the land. So what we're doing is fixing something that the next generation will not have to stand here and go through this. So this is well worth our time. And I also want to remind the commission that when we had the bed and breakfast, they did not have enough parking either. And they had to go to the church and get additional parking for other events. So this is not something that we are doing, half-side. This is something that we as a city has allowed these kind of alternatives and ways of doing things. So I really appreciate the vibrant conversation. I just wanted to get in and just say a little bit. Y'all was handling it so well.
We appreciate that.
I just wanted to just say a little bit.
I've been trying to pull you in
And,
for a long time.
And Mr. Chairman, I'm ready for the vote.
Okay. Mr. Wine, would you call for the vote, please?
Yes, sir.
And the vote is to table this for 30 days
December the 17th.
and have a...
December
I mean,
17th.
until the next planning meeting, the third Tuesday of next month, and we'll have a new public hearing meeting at that particular time. Okay?
Commissioners, please vote. Mr. Chairman, the motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
I would say congratulations, but it's really not congratulations at this point, at this moment. Hopefully, the next time I say it, it will be congratulations, okay? Have a good Thanksgiving. Do you have any old business? I think we cleared out everything. New business, status report, Mr. Wine?
Yes, sir. We had 4 items go before City Council at their meeting of October 16th, 2024. The first 2 were combo applications, a rezoning request, and a conditional use permit for a drive-through operation at the intersection of Constance and Broad there for the town bank. Those were approved. The conditional use permit approved with conditions. There was a conditional use permit to establish a detached accessory dwelling on property in Holland. That was approved with conditions. And the live entertainment use to allow the AJ Gators there on Bridge Road to operate after the hours of 10 p.m. was approved as well. That concludes the status report.
Does any commissioner have any additional comments to make?
Why are you looking at me? I think I talked myself out yesterday during the meeting we had on the capital improvement plan coming forward, and there'll be more said on that at our next meeting. I believe it comes before us at our December meeting. So that being said, I would like to thank Commissioner Edwards for his restraint today. That's unusual. And I wish everybody a very, very happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
I would like to say thank you, Mr. Wine, for just being who you are. Thank you, Lori, for being so informative. Because it's 4 years now. We just got re-voted back in, and so you live and you learn. You're learning more. So I appreciate being able to learn more. And thank you all.
I'd like to also echo that gratitude as probably the most junior member here on the Planning Commission, that I learned a lot today. And I was really grateful to see all of us trying to work towards a common solution in a very tricky situation here. And it made me feel all warm and fuzzy to be a part of a group that's trying to working towards a common goal when, you do feel like your hands are tied. But I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving.
Today was a good, warm and fuzzy day.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make some brief comment. First of all, I want to congratulate everybody who ran. What makes America great is the fact that people can have the courage to get out there and run. And, regardless of you win or you lose, it's good that people can get into the ring and let their ideas be known. And I congratulate everybody who ran. And those who won, congratulations. I send my condolences to the Metropolitan Church and the Hobbs family with the death of First Lady Susie Hobbs, someone who I've known all my life. And I'm going to make this real brief. You all know how much I love Lou Ward. Lou Ward didn't just nominate me or appoint me on the Planning Commission. Lou Ward's my friend, a deep friend, deep personal friend. And you mourn with those who mourn. And I know you all heard of the passing of Mr. Ward's son, Richard, who my age, and we all know, I know his dad 20 years, so I know Richard that long in that standpoint. So I would just be remiss if I didn't send my condolences, on behalf of all the commissioners. I know Commissioner Goodman was at the service. We was there together, but just send out our love and support, especially in this holiday season, for the Ward Page Scott family in the passing of the Vice Mayor's son. Thank you.
And in comments to Mrs. Commissioner Bowers' comments, I've been here for a few 24 hours, and I don't remember this scenario happening before. It might have, but I don't remember it. With that said, we'll stand adjourned.
That does not speak ill.